Okay guys, so today we're going to do Unit 8 Lesson 2, and this is titled Side Lengths and Areas. So we're going to be looking at the relationship between side lengths of a square and its area. So let's just go over, and I'm going to remind you that the area of a square equals side length, it's side length squared. So remember, side length, when something is squared, it means that it's being multiplied 2 times. So it would be side length times side length. So let's go over to the first one. So the first one is, so we have a square. The side lengths of the square is 2. So each side length is 2. So I'm going to write 2 right there for its side length. So then let's find the area. So to find the area of a square, you do side length square. So this would be 2 squared. So that equals 2 times 2. 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. So the area of this square right here is 4. Okay? So now we're going to do the next one. So we have a square here. Each side length is 3. So when it says side length here, we're going to write 3. And now we're going to find its area. So the area is side length square. So this would be 3 squared. So that equals, so this is 3 being multiplied 2 times. This would be 3 times 3. And that equals 9. So the area of this square is 9. Okay, let's do the next one. All right, so we have a square here, and it wants to know what's the side length of this square. So the side length for this square is 4. So we're gonna write 4 here. And then let's find the area. So remember, to find the area of a square, it's side length squared. So this would be 4 squared, right? So that equals, it'll be 4 times 4, which is equal to 16. And you can always plug that into your calculator. So the area here is 16. And then we'll do one more. So here we have a square. It wants to know what's the side length of this square. So each side length is 5. Okay? So let's find the area. So remember, it's side length squared, so this would be 5 squared. Okay, so 5 squared, it means 5 times 5. And 5 times 5 is 25. So the area here is 25. So how we found the area when we have a side length is all we did was we did one side length squared. So we did 2 squared. Here we did 3 squared. Here we did 4 squared. And then here we did 5 squared. Okay, so that was easy. And these are all of the areas. All right, now we're gonna work backwards. Let us say, well, what happens if they give us the area first? So I'm gonna slide this down over here. Okay, so now it's asking, well, it gave me my area. What must the side length be? So that's easy. I'm going to teach you how we're going to do that. So the area for this problem here is 3. So we're going to write 3 right here because that's the area. So what must the side length be? Well, I'm going to teach you a new math symbol today. So the math symbol is this symbol right here. Okay, and I'll just put a random question mark in here. So what does, actually I'll get rid of that question mark. Actually I'll keep it. So what does this mean? The square root of some number. So I need to write here, I'm gonna write square root. Actually, we're going to learn about square root. And the square root looks like this. So what does the square root mean? The square root is the length of a side, the length of a side of a square whose area is question mark. Okay. So if we have the square root of question mark, so this right here is the square root. So I'm going to write square root. So the square root of the question mark, what does that mean? So this right here, the square root of the question mark, that is the length of a side of a square whose area is question mark. So let me show you how it looks in with numbers. So here we have an area of 3. So we need to find the side length. Well, we know here that, let us say we had an area of, I'm going to say we had an area of 5. So that means this right here is the side length. So if you have an area of 5, then the side length would be the square root of 5. So here we have an area of 3. So what must my side length be? Well, with what we just learned, well, it must be the square root of 3. No, hold on, let me make that a little neater. The square root of 3. Okay? And then, so that means each one of these side lengths is the square root of 3. And now we need to find out, well, what is the square root of 3? So when you use your calculator, I'm going to create another video and I'm going to teach you how you can find out the square root button on your computer. But the square root button is right here. You'll see this symbol, the square root symbol. So you're going to press that. Oh, sorry, you're going to do second square. So there's my square root symbol. And then we want to find the square root of 3. So you're just going to type in 3. And you get 1.732 blah, blah, blah. So instead of writing this really long decimal, all you can do is that, okay, well, my side length, we'll just write it's the square root of 3. So we're going to erase all of these question marks. So if the area is 3, my side length is the square root of 3. So each one of these will be square root of 3. And square root of 3. Okay? Let's go to the next one. All right, here we have an area of 8. So when it says area equals, you're going to put 8. And now I want to know, well, what's the side length? So remember, the side length, with what we just learned, if the area is 8, then the side length is the square root of that area. So it'll be square root of that area with it, which is 8. So each of these has a side length of a square root of 8. Actually, I do want to write here. So the square root of 3, if I put it in my calculator, it was 1. I'm going to write 732. ... just so we know the rough estimate. Here we're going to find the square root of 8. So if you were to put it in your calculator, you would type the square root symbol. You would put in 8 because that's my area. So this side length is 2. I'm going to write 828. So here The side length, if I were to write it in decimal form, it would be 2.828 ... Okay, let's find, well, this one. We have an area of 25, so I'm going to write 25. So it wants to know, what must the side length be? Well, remember, if you have an area of 25 for a square, then the side length must be the square root of that area, which is the square root of 25. So each one of these is going to be square root of 25. And then we'll put that in our calculator and figure out what that is. We're going to type in 25 because that's my area. Oh, look, we get a whole number, which is 5. So this side length is 5. So that means instead of writing the square root of 25, we can really just write 5 instead, because since it's a whole number. Now we're going to match this with the previous example that we just did. So let's look at these two we just did. So number 4 and number 7. So when we had side lengths of 5, the area we just had to do 5 squared, which was 5 times 5, which was 25. Well, when we have an area of 25 and we take the square root of 25, we end up with 5. So these do match. So this just proves to us that finding the square root of the area will give you the side length. So let's do the last example here. So the area here is 110. Just going to write area 110. So what must the side length be? Well, the side length is the square root of the area. So we're going to do square root of my area, which is 110. So then we're going to plug that into our calculator. What is the square root of 110? We're going to do 110. So this will be about 10 point, we're going to do 488. 488. So that's approximately. Then we'll do ... But I'm not going to write this whole decimal for each side length. So this one, since it's not a whole number, we're going to put square root of 110. So each side length is square root of 110. Square root 110, square root 110. Okay, so let me just do a few more examples just so that you can get more practice. So let me erase, I'll erase this one here. We'll erase that one, and we'll just do 2 more examples. Okay, so I'll name this number 9. So I'm going to draw a square. This square will have an area of 100. So what is the side length? So side length, and then area equals. So we don't know the area. We don't know the side length right now because it's just question mark, but we do know the area. The area is 100. So for area, you're going to write 100. And then for the side length, remember, if an area is 100, the side length is going to be the square root of the area. So that'll be square root of 100. So we could plug that into our calculator, the square root of 100. Square root of 100. And we get a whole number, which is 10. So that means each side length here is 10. And like stated before, since I'm getting a whole number, not a decimal, I'll just write the whole number. You can write either one. If you want, you can also do square root of 100. It means the same thing. Okay, you could do either one. And we'll do one more. Number 10. So let me draw a square. So this square is going to have an area of 150. Actually, we'll make it just 15. So side length, area. Here, here we have to determine, did they give us the side length or the area? We don't have a side length, they did give us the area. The area is 15. So the side length is the square root of my area. So it will be the square root of my area, which is 15. And if I were to put that in my calculator, square root of 15, I get this repeated, I get this not repeated decimal, just this really long decimal. So I'm gonna write 3 point, we'll do 87, 3.87, dot, dot, dot. So this side length is about 3.87 units, but I'm not gonna write 3.87 on each side, so I can just write square root of 15. So you could write square root of 15. You could write 3.87 dot dot dot. It doesn't. It equals the same thing. Actually, I do want to do one more over here. All right, this will be number 11. Okay, so we have to determine, okay, what did this problem give us? So this one that I just created, did it give us the side length? Yes, it gave us our side length. Our side length is 9. So I'm going to write 9 there. So we need to find the area. So remember, the area is the side length. If you look from our examples, it's the side length squared. So my side length is 9, so we're going to do 9 squared. So this equals 9 times 9. So that equals 81. So the area here is 81. And then if we were to work backwards, I will show you how it works if we were to work backwards. Let us say that I gave us the area instead. Side length, area. So here's a new problem. So did it give us the side length? No, it gave us the area. So the area is 81. So we want to know, well, what must my side lengths be? So with a square, to find the side length, you just do the square root of our area, which is 81. We could put that into our calculator, and we'll do the square root of 81. And you will get 9. And as you can see, that is exactly what we found out here. We worked with the same number, so each side length is 9. So you can work by doing, when you have a side length, you could do the side length squared, so it will be 9 squared. So in other words, 9 squared equals 81, okay? But then over here, we learned, well, the square root of 81 equals 9. So that means that when you square a number, it's the opposite of getting the square root of that number. So these are opposites. So when you square a number, it's 9 times 9 equals 81. Here, it's saying this number equals what is inside of the square root. Okay, so you're going to do some practice problems. We'll give you a few practice problems with you being given the side length and finding the area, or you being given the area and you have to find the side length.